Thanks for coming tonight. My name is Susanna Kirksey. I'm an executive consultant and coach. And I think this is our third get-together. I see some familiar faces and mostly new, which is really exciting. We've actually had a slow start to this year, but we've got a great program coming up. I've been under the weather, so my voice is a little rough, and I'm not as, don't have as much energy as I normally do, but please forgive me up front. Having said, I'm gonna do anyway, and we're gonna talk about that, what it takes to have confidence. So this is a big topic, and obviously one that attracted you guys, but one that I've been studying for quite some time now, and not only in my own experience, but also in my own leadership work and learning that I've gone through. I've been surprised to find the number of studies that show that confidence outweighs competence in terms of what you have to bring to the table. And competence is a given, of course. We have to be more than highly competent. There's a double-edged sword here, right, as women, but we'll get into that. Before we get started, I just want to make a quick non-discrimination statement, because this is a gender-specific meetup, but I wouldn't want to exclude anybody who would want to attend, so everyone is welcome. I also wanted to get started with introductions, and again, some of us know each other better than others, but I'd love to hear your name, hear a little bit about who you are and why you're here. This meetup is designed to help women lead at every level. And so I wanted to throw out a line and see if, wow, were other women interested in knowing what I wish I had known 20 years ago. And I've been really overwhelmed by the response. There's some really simple, practical things we do well as women, and things we don't do well, naturally, when it comes to our leadership, in a public workplace. And it has a lot to do with our conditioning as human beings, but and a lot of other factors, obviously our cultural, family conditioning, social conditioning mainly. But I was really curious to see if other women could benefit from coaching that I wish I had had 20 years ago. So, made a lot of mistakes on my own and learned along the way. So, who am I? I have a 25-year high-tech career building market leadership for Fortune 500s to startups. I am now an executive consultant and coach. I was a single mother, raised my daughter and worked on my own. I really want to empower other women. I've been discouraged also to find that in my own career and in the studies that I've read, it's often women that hold down other women. It's less men that hold down women, but women. And so how do we do a better job empowering each other? And that feels very important to me in my work at this time in my life, is how to give back. How can I mentor and support other young women, other females, in becoming empowered? And again, this is leading at every level. You don't have to have a C title or have an executive title to be a leader. In fact, paradoxically enough, it's not always the case, right? That our leaders come from every level of the organization and every walk of life. So it's very much a quality of, human potential. So that's me. I'm Susanna. I'm going to open up the floor really quick before we get started, and I'd love to hear your name, a little bit about who you are and why you're here, what brought you here, and anything you'd like to share in terms of your specific interest or what you hope to gain out of the evening or the meetup in general. Can we get started?
My name is Allison, and I'm from San Antonio originally. I've always been told I've struggled with confidence in the workplace and personal, so I'm looking to gain, I guess I know rationally that it does hold people back, but it's just tools of how I can increase my presence and be more of a leader in the workplace, or at any team.
My name is Rebecca Ader. I'm from a really small town in Texas that you've never heard of. closer to Dallas than it is to here. I've lived in Austin for a little over a year, and I've been at my current job for a little over a year as well. And I'm starting to think about, what I want to do career-wise and what my next step is going to be. And I'm thinking I want to move into leadership, but my confidence is going to hold me back. My complete lack of confidence is going to hold me back. So I've actually been trying to think of ways to start working on it, and I thought, I'll go to women's groups and see if I can find some good mentors, and I found this one. So this is exactly sort of what I was looking for, confidence. So anyway, nice to meet you all.
My name is TK Bishop, and I've been kind of doing the whole tech thing this past year, and I love it. And there's not a lot of women in tech, so it's nice to be a part of an organization like this and have a mentor.
Hi, my name is Ishan Yang, and I just moved from Manhattan about a month ago.
Welcome.
Thanks. I have my own business. I create mobile app for kids. And I missed the part that you were asking everyone to say, but from what I gleaned, what I'm hoping to get from this tonight is tips and advice on how to, become better versions of ourselves. And I'm also going to start writing blog posts for women in China, because I'm targeting families in China, so I want to write to women and also give them some perspectives from the U.S. as well as how they can better, juggle work and family life and try to be their best selves too. So I'm hoping to get tips and stuff that I can share with them too.
Hi, I'm Christina. I used to teach at the University of Texas. I'm a mathematician. My confidence level is really low. You would say math, and I've been transitioning careers in the last year and a half. I went to a boot camp in programming because I wanted to learn how to program. It went well, and as I did that, I decided I want to become a data scientist. But that requires a little more confidence. I need to show outside the world that I'm something. So when I saw the meetup, I was like, it sounds really great. I'd love to learn some tips. Good. And I'm originally from Italy. Did I say that already? My accent is not from Texas, it's from Italy. So I'm from Italy, from the south of Italy. I lived in the US for 15 years, living in Manhattan.
So my name is Esther. I'm from France, so I'm a friend. I moved here 2 years ago when I was 18, so I'm just by myself. I'm currently involved at St. Edward's University. I'm a senior right now. And so I'm here because I would love to work for WWE, which is the World Wrestling Entertainment. And this is the men world, and I really want to empower the women in that industry. So that's where I need to improve my confidence, and I get some tips to show them that women are way better than them.
So I'm Terry Harwood. I've been in the tech industry for a long time, mostly leading product and UX type groups. Been in Fortune 500, been in startups, and so recently still in a startup with a really poor culture. And so I'm solving a problem that there's 3 of us that work together really well. And the head of engineering, data science, and I'm product and UX. So we're trying to go out and do some consulting as a team together and present ourselves to companies that maybe aren't quite big enough to have that together. And we can bring some really strong experience. So that's a little bit scary to go out and put ourselves out there. So here, and afterwards we should connect, because my friend who's a data scientist is awesome. So
Susanna and I saw each other recently at a mentoring program that we were involved in, and my name is Chris. I work with women in tech leaders. My background is 20 years at IBM, so I spent my entire career in tech, and now help women with their confidence and their courage in getting out in the world and bringing their message, products, and services to the world.
So in general, just to share a few things we covered last year was mistakes every woman make. We had a guest speaker one time, so every month we cover different topics, but it is all about empowering you as entrepreneurial leaders, as executive female leaders, in any industry, in any walk. And so what I like about what I heard from all of you guys is that you're looking for practical, effective tips, because we all know that self-work is a lifelong journey. And so, but there are some very practical things that you can leverage that will help you along the way. And what I try to do is look for the most practical things that I can find in terms of both my own experience and what I've learned, but also pulling from resources. So tonight, I'm going to draw from the book called The Confidence Code. And it's a really good one, Katie Kay and Claire Shipman. And I'll bring a lot of resources to the table, so you could go do more research or get the book if you like what you hear. But this is a very well-researched book, and it's a very well-documented piece of work. And so I felt very confident bringing it to you today, and it resonated with my own experience. So the reality is it's still a man's world. And hi, come on in, welcome. We've made incredible headway as women, right? But we're still only a small percentage, really, of the leadership at the top. We are going to, we're basically going to control all the consumers. We have more college degrees than men. Almost every study shows that women are not only more competent than men, they often perform better at their jobs, but they're also traditionally not promoted as much, not paid as much. So there's a problem, right? We've made incredible headway. The strides women have made in terms of political and business power is incredible, but we still have a long way to go. And there's a few key things that have been identified as some of the, what I call the problem, it's the confidence gap in women. So what's this about? Success most closely correlates to confidence and competence. Women are notoriously competent. We are so competent. We overwork, we work hard, we do our good job, we're conscientious about it, almost a fault, right? And thinking also that if we just work harder and longer enough that we can get ahead and we'll be recognized. Compared with men, however, we don't consider ourselves ready for promotions, right? We predict we'll do worse on tests when typically we fare better. We don't feel confident in our jobs. And we falter from setbacks and failures. Women have a tendency to linger longer in the sense of failure. So what is it about men? They project a level of comfort that gets them noticed and rewarded. And why don't we exhibit the same? First, let's start by defining confidence. What is confidence? And it's hard to define, right? What's hard for women is often, that's very much against our value system as women, is that false bravado, aggrandizement that often we see men do to their success. But it's really hard to fake in that way. It's essential to success on every level in your life. It's complex, so it's hard to grasp, but it's linked to action. It's an essential ingredient. And here's what's really cool, is that it's not so nebulous and intangible that you can't get it. It is, one, confidence. Confidence is closely associated with self-esteem, but it's not self-esteem. It's not self-efficacy either. It's different, right? But it's about, again, turning self-belief into action. So it requires hard work, mastery, resilience. And it always takes action and is decisive. And so oftentimes, you'll read this a lot, and in my own career, this has happened quite a bit, where I have failed to take action, or I've been indecisive about something. And it portrayed a lack of confidence. That wasn't the case, but that's what it portrayed, because I didn't take action swiftly, or I didn't make a decision swiftly. So those are the kind of lessons learned that come along the way. So, confidence killers. I think we could just as easily look at what confidence is not as what confidence is, because by looking at what it's not or what kills it, it helps it to grow, right? So, perfectionism. Women think that we can be confident only when we're perfect. Really staunch perfectionists. And it's almost, perfectionism can lead to so many failures, because, you know, if you have to wait till you're perfect, you don't ever get there. You can't, because it doesn't exist. You know, it's an idea we make up in our head that actually keeps us from action. So, I don't know about you, but I have a propensity to dwell on my failures because I'm a perfectionist. We're wired to tune into the world as women. So it is natural that it would be just as hard to shut it out. I mean, it is, you know, our gender counterparts, they, you know, we could criticize a lot, but their ability for containment and ability to take action, and again, not let their emotions get in the way, you know, is part of our survival as a species. It's lucky the men do carry that. But again, more we can also contain our worried thoughts, or the more we choose to move on quickly instead of dwelling on failure and mistakes, the more confident we'll be. Overthinking, thinking. I don't know about you, but I'm a big thinker. And I will think my way into a corner and not move from the corner. So, wanting to be liked and people pleasing. These are, the funny thing is, these were on the list of the first meetup of the mistakes every woman makes. And they're associated also with confidence, which is really interesting. So, our lack of self-belief and our ability to succeed, our negative thinking, our habitual thought about ourselves, or the stories we make up or that we tell ourselves about our failures, or why we won't succeed, or why we're not good enough, our storylines. And the big thing also is inaction. What I really love about this one major tip is around action is it's very practical. It's something you can do, right? Sometimes it's hard to get, like self-esteem takes repeated acts of self-love, you know, over time. Self-efficacy requires hard work and diligence and mastery, right? But what I like is if you're lacking confidence, that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to have confidence to succeed, actually. You have to take the action to have the confidence, if that makes sense. So, now, these are what I would call paradoxical points of change. Because you can't imagine that failing fast would be a good strategy for anyone, right? But contrarily enough, failing fast is an ideal paradigm for women, meaning you're on the edge, you're taking risks, right? You're raising your voice, you're living on life's edge. So you're out there trying in lots of little ways, little actions, right? And you can make them small, and it's okay. Okay, that didn't work, move on, go. Right? Okay, I'm gonna do this, all right? Ah, that worked. Okay, I took action. Oftentimes when I take action, I'm successful. But I bemoan my lack of success, and I forget to look at the fact that I didn't take action. So I don't know if that's your experience or not, but I really noticed a correlation between, and also, I'm not gonna, you guys can read. Shifting from me to we is a really good one for women as well, because we're wired, we're community wired in us, right? And sometimes I've struggled because it's felt like a narcissistic, egotistical kind of thing to propose myself or, you know, be bold or raise my hand or what have you, when it's actually the opposite. And that it's really, when we embrace our sense of community purpose, oftentimes that builds confidence as well. So that's a really important one. Not taking things personally. You know, men are great at taking things personally. I wish they would take things more personally sometimes, but they don't. But that's a strength, right? And in certain circumstances, there's absolutely, you know, we take too much responsibility for everything and everyone around us. And so that becomes hard. And yeah, go ahead.
When you say shift from me to we, is that in your thought process, or like, is that something that I would do in my thought process, or that I use that in my communication?
Like, when I've been sick, and so it was hard getting here tonight, but because it was a we, it made it a lot easier, if that makes sense. For me, it's a reframe in my mind. Like, instead of, this is a really big one too, because I'm a marketing executive, and I can market, I do work miracles for my client companies. When it comes to marketing myself and my own business, it is so much harder. It's a whole other deal. That's really amazing. You had mentioned starting a new company. How do you get out there with confidence and take those actions? Changing a whole career. I did the same thing to be a licensed psychotherapist, so I do several things now. But it's like, how do you make those big leaps in your life, right? So for me, why that works, and I'm glad you stopped on it, is, again, because women are more wired to relate with other. You know, we're wired to take care of our community and our home and our family and our people. And oftentimes, when you have a sense of community purpose, it can help you feel more confident than just it being about yourself. Like when I go out into the world and I'm like, can I be of service to others, and with what I'm doing? Then it doesn't feel like this gratuitous, because it doesn't work for me otherwise if I can't be myself. So instead of promoting me or promoting myself, which sometimes is awkward, I could promote the service that I provide and what it does for someone else. So it's more of a, you know, us refocus. Does that make sense? So whatever you can do to shift your mind from it just being about you to what you can bring to the whole, I think that helps. Does that make sense? I
Can I
don't know.
give
Yeah,
an
please.
example? When I was in corporate, whenever I had to present, I was always very nervous because everyone was trying to find a hole that they could dig in and ask a question and throw me off. And when I went out into my own business and would speak publicly, when I decided that this wasn't about me, it was about my ability to give what I had to give, I no longer get nervous.
Right.
Because I'm about giving to you, not whether you care about me or not.
Right.
So that turns it from me to you, and being more about us. So that makes me confident.
It's the best way. That's so right on, Chris. It's the best way to get through nerves and self-consciousness, is to focus on someone else. Like, how can I help you guys, or what can I do to share my experience that would help you in your life? That kind of thing. If that makes sense. So, what do we need to do? Inhale confidence. Meditation does help. Start acting. Start risking. And risk failing. Stop mumbling. These are quotes. And apologizing and prevaricating. Don't ruminate. Rewire and stop overthinking. So when you're thinking yourself into a corner, stop and do something else. Stop worrying about whether you're competent enough. You were good enough. you're more than good enough, you're more than competent, and start focusing on actions that increase your confidence, right? Through self-belief and through, you know, exhibiting self-love.
I don't know if anyone, well, I don't know if do you think please falls into an action you would want to stop using, or a type of?
Oh, people pleasing?
Like saying please like in emails, oh, could you please do this? Could you please have this to me?
Great
I don't know,
question.
I think I think it's polite, and I do a lot, but I also say I'm sorry a lot in
Okay.
emails.
Stop. That was, actually, it's good. So I think what I should do is post past presentations or do reviews sometimes, because these are part of the practical tips. Is that say please when, and I imagine this is why we're all here, to share our own experience, so I don't have all the answers, but I would apologize as little as possible. And when you apologize, say apologize, don't say you're sorry. It's a very disempowering thing. Please and sorry can be subservient, can put yourself in a one down position. Or thanks when you don't even need to say thanks. You know what I'm saying? I know this sounds weird, but it's like, some judicious use of exclamation points in your word of communication.
Smiley face.
And smiley faces.
Wait, so you're saying stop using exclamation points? How is everybody gonna know that I'm excited?
You know, some people can use it well. It's really interesting. And there's so many double standards. It's really unfortunate for women, because we talked about this a lot too, is that I tend to be a very direct communicator. I've never heard a man be called bossy. Yet, how is it that a woman could be called bossy? And I'm like, okay, so I'm bossy. You know, let me know if I'm being bossy. I don't mean to be. It's not my intention. But our communication double standards are rampant. It's no matter what, to be a leader, to be an executive leader, you have to have a certain gravitas. You have to have a certain gravitas. And so you can't be, we'll do some experiential exercises, because there are also practical things like your body position, the tone of your voice, how you enunciate, how you talk, your composure, especially under stress. All those things matter. Those are very practical tips too that you can learn, but these are great questions. So wherever you can stop apologizing, and you can say please, but look at where it's actually needed or required, or where it's overdone, or you're thanking someone when you don't need to be thanking them. Does that make sense? Do you guys have anything to share on that?
I definitely have to stop myself from apologizing for not really a good reason. Like now I double think it in my head and have to sort of be like, I don't need to say I'm sorry, just for small things. I think it's habit forming from also maybe wanting to be liked. That's how it comes for me, and that can, in my experience, can be kind of a confidence killer in perception. It's something that I have to work towards, but I think it's easier said than done when you're doing it, when you have been doing it a long time. So.
It's like feeling like you have to make an excuse for yourself. Excuse yourself for existing, instead of, and what you do is you just, and eliminate the word just. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to reach out and, if you would please just talk to me, anything that puts you in somewhat of a beggar position. So there are certain words that do that. But again, I think there's nothing wrong with apologizing. In fact, I think it shows strength and leadership to apologize when you need to. And I would use those words, apologies or something, if it's warranted. But I would eliminate, I'm sorry. Just don't use it.
So about the, you were saying the exclamation marks and smiling faces, try to avoid them.
Mhm.
Now, I volunteer mentor for an online course in some machine learning thing, and I had to do some training. In the training, they told us, please put lots of smiling faces, lots of exclamation marks. So now I've been doing them more, because otherwise people you want to be friendly to the students asking questions and when you're answering to them. And I did notice something interesting and sad and okay, what did I notice? So when I reply to the students that ask questions, we get I may or may not get points, like a like thing, similar to Facebook upvotes. I got very few, and compared to the men, they have 50% of they reply to a student and they get lots of upvotes. I got almost nothing. And I think my responses are quite accurate, precise, and all that. Then I thought maybe I'm gonna change my name instead of Christina, but I'm making it to a guy name. But unfortunately, there was already they could find me and it didn't work. But I'm interested actually in doing this experiment just to see whether it is something what's going on. But they did tell us in the training, use lots of exclamation marks and smiling faces. So
That's really funny. And you probably did, and the men didn't.
no, I will. I think I've seen guys also doing it.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I had one boss, he did it, I've never seen someone use exclamation mark.
But this is
so
not
well.
for, I guess it's not for being an executive, right? This is maybe a different relationship. I don't know what.
But what you're saying is very pertinent. There's a Heidi Howard study. I don't know if you've heard of this. We also went over this. I think it's in Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In. And the exact same personality types, exact same situations, they just changed the name. One was Heidi and one was Howard. And it was amazing. They judged Heidi as being aggressive, unlikable. What were some of the other things? Howard was assertive. Oh, she was aggressive. He was assertive. He was successful. He was he showed leadership. Whereas on all other accounts, Heidi was judged for being disliked. Really fascinating. So there are very real double standards, and it's how do we navigate them without being victimized to it? Because I don't cry victimization at all. It's just what it is, and you just got to learn to navigate within it. But that's interesting, and I wonder why that is.
I decided to ignore that aspect of life. I'm gonna just reply, just tell the answers the way I feel it, and actually I've been reducing the exclamation marks and the smiling faces because I noticed. So it's interesting you're saying that because I didn't notice that doesn't sound really that I'm serious about this thing, about the answer and stuff. But that was part of the again.
Well, people will respect a certain gravitas if you hold yourself with a certain seriousness as well. That makes sense? Progress, not perfection. One of my favorite quotes is from Joe Campbell, and it's the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. And that's the true paradox of change, is that it's about being more of who you are, not being someone else, not trying to be someone else. It's actually by embracing all of who you are that you will feel most confidence, because you'll be in authenticity. So think less, take action, and be real. Be who you are. Right? You are enough. It's hard to say sometimes. To believe that we're good enough, that we're capable of doing whatever we put our minds to. But you have the power to make that choice, and you also have the power to continue to give yourself those messages. So the messages you feed to yourself are so important. The storyline you tell yourself about who you are and what you're about and what you're capable of. Sometimes you have to go, la 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 la, thanks. Like, I appreciate you sharing, but I'm gonna go do this, and I'm gonna take a risk, right? Or I'm gonna make a call, or I'm gonna apply for that job, or I'm going to pitch for the speaking position, or I'm gonna reach out and I'm gonna make a contact and, with the potential prospect. So there's so many little ways that we can act every day. Even it's like, you don't wanna exercise. Those little ways in which we can go against the inertia of our not doing, our inaction, our avoidance goes farther than any kind of intangible things that we can try to acquire. It's really very basic and very practical. Oh. Thank you. Now I will open it up, and I welcome your stories. Anything you wanna share, any questions that you have.
I just feel like, I don't know, I knew from one of my friends and the people I know, I have that feeling, and apparently I have that phrase that person that, don't care about people, and she just whatever, I don't care. And I feel like if I apply your tips, I'd be even more in that, you know what I mean, in that feeling that will give to people. And that's not who I am. When people know me, they're okay, that's so different from who I think you were. And I feel like if I'm acting like you're saying I should act, everybody will be no, in fact, she's like that. And I feel kind of bad about it because this is not me at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird because I understand what you're saying, and in a way you're really true about it.
Yeah, right. So if I understand you correctly, are you talking about the difference between having to play a role, a persona, to do something, and being yourself? Which that's a hard thing to navigate, because you can't always be yourself, in the sense that it's not appropriate in some environments. Or if you're playing a certain role for a company or a professional role, it's not appropriate to, be in your wild personality or whatever it is, right? So there is a fine line, but there's a way to be authentic within a role, if that makes sense. You could still be who you are, but play a role. The important thing is that you know it, right? That's when people get confused between their work personality as who they are, versus they get so identified with work that, it's who I am at work is who I am, or who I am at home is who I am. When we do play different roles. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you did.
But that's a lifelong one, because for a long time I'm impassioned by the human mind and arts and language and literature, and I've been in high-tech marketing, and I took all my education in language, literature, and the arts, and I went into marketing. But for a long time I'm what am I doing here? This is not who I am, having said, it was a job and it was a role I played and continue. I have clients today. It's different in that I don't feel like I have to prove myself anymore. It's different. Whereas as a younger person, I think there are times in my life when I really felt like I had to prove myself. And I wasn't so confident in my capabilities or what have you, and so had to overcompensate a lot more. But that's okay too. The thing is to really be friendly and kind with ourselves as we explore who we are, and we learn to be more of who we can be, because we're so hard on ourselves. It's my experience.
I think we're far harder on ourselves than anybody else is thinking about us.
No.
Because they're in their own head thinking it's bad.
That's true. It's absolutely true.
I do have a struggle with, what you said earlier in terms of having a work personality and, I'm relatively new in, I guess the working world and, I graduated from dental school, so I'm a dentist and, just basically manning a team, it's hard to strike that balance because you still have to have a certain amount of authority, you can't just be like,
No, it's true.
have like a home personality, but I feel like guys can do that, and it's not a big, like, people have a lot easier time taking commands from a male dentist than a female dentist, and that's just the nature of it, and they automatically think they're more competent, that's just natural, I mean, is what I've noticed, even for, patients, just in general, and then working with your staff, you have to sort of like call a level of respect, but at the same time, like you said, be friendly. Because when I first came out, I felt like I was way too friendly and almost was taken advantage of in many situations. And so I'm just like working on trying to strike that balance to where you're stern but not rude.
Yeah. No, it's important.
And so
And you can be friendly, but you can't necessarily be friends.
and that's the other thing, you can't, in my situation, you can't necessarily be friends with, your staff.
It's really, and it's not always the case, but
Yeah,
often-
and that's not
yeah.
always the case, it depends on the
It
practice
always
dynamics and how long you've been working with people to where you establish a level of trust.
So sorry. Absolutely, but like, you have to be, like, in your position, you also have to be decisive. Again, so many studies show it's like, doesn't matter if you make a mistake, you're making a decision, make the decision. And women are like, it has to be the right one. Like, no, you just have to make it.
In order for people to continue believing in you?
Well, not good to continue, but think about this. If you're a military operative, it's really hard in this way, but you have to be able to make, if you're a leader, you have to make a decision like that. Huge decisions, and you have to be able to make them quickly. And so oftentimes it is a sign, one, leaders are decisive. They don't always make the right decisions, but they're willing to take the chance, right, by making a decision. Whereas oftentimes what women will do, they'll, I don't know, and, weighing all the, outcomes, and all of that is a good and valuable process, that's important. But wherever you can be decisive or get to a decision and show that level of mastery when you're working with people, it actually makes them feel more confident in you. Especially hard decisions.
Can I just make an observation? So when we were all going around introducing ourselves, and, someone said that she has low confidence, and someone else says that, she's also trying to work on confidence, and someone else, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, I walked into this room, I see these women, I have no idea who you are, what your background is, and the moment you say that you have no confidence, it was shocking to me, because I'm like, well, she looks like, intelligent and hardworking and well-liked and just, well put together, whatever it is, so that, I'm saying that just to kind of emphasize the whole, it's completely in your head. Like seriously, like all you women who've been saying that, you have issues with fear and how people perceive you. That's how I perceived you originally, which was you guys have it together and you feel hopeful and confident about your future. The second thing is that, looking through the bullet points and the notes and everything about, just do it, think less, whatever it is. And there was a quote, it was like, it's the purity of action produced by a mind free of doubt. To me, I don't think that necessarily makes sense or is the actual goal we want to go towards, because anyone and everyone may have doubt. Whether it's Obama trying to make a big decision regarding, you know, other countries, or someone just trying to make a decision about childcare for their kids, you know, like, you just don't know. So to me, it's not so much about confidence of being free of doubt, it's about having the courage to take a risk, which is the whole, you know, do it. And then to your question about like, well, when you make decisions, do you just, you know, make a decision, you know, what, you know, I don't remember your exact question, but it was related to making decisions. And to me, it's not so much about making the perfect decision, it's about having all the information that we have, what is the best decision we can make with the resources or the information that we have, you know? And you can only just make a decision based on that. You can't fault yourself for making a decision feeling like you should make it perfect when you have imperfect information, you know? And so it's like, if you're with your team and you feel like, okay, well, I want them to view me as a leader who's strong, confident, and knows what I'm doing, sometimes I think the best thing is actually just to like turn it on them and be like, from your perspective, what do you think is the best thing? And then go to the next person, what do you think? What do you think? And then you have a discussion and you say, okay, well, you said this and you said this, but your conclusion is based off of this higher value, and your conclusion is based off of something, a value that you're placing even higher than that other person. Between the two, what do we think is actually a higher value? So it becomes more of a team thing, but you're kind of managing the process, and they can view you as a person who's able to see things from a higher perspective and help them like think through things in a clear way. And then I have something else if you remember, but that's just what
I
my
really,
observations were.
I love what you said. One, I heard you say, that it is in our heads. You know, and a lot of studies support that, you know, that every woman, and I was also surprised to hear that. I'm glad the topic picked up, that you resonated, but also, and then I heard you say, and I didn't agree with this, is that I like their definition of confidence, and I think that it's impossible to be free of doubt, right? I think that when you're in the doubt, you're in the zone, oftentimes if that's not there, you're in the flow of mastery, and that's a little different, in that kind of pure potential space, if that makes any sense. But I think you have to do it anyway, like you said. And then also just facilitating, it's like being the leader that facilitates decision making by gathering all the information from the team. And I think did that make sense to you in terms of?
Well, I think, yeah, I keep thinking it helped, like, definitely along the lines of how do you ask somebody for their opinion and not have it not seem indecisive, or how could you do that confidently? I guess when I was thinking about it the first time, I was thinking, well, that could just go awry in so many different ways. Like, should there be a cultural shift that shouldn't be the standard, that just because a decision is made, you know, that person should be viewed as the best leader? Because I just think that's because I think that a lot of decisions are then made without consequences.
Yeah, and so it's not black and white. And so these are broad brush strokes in terms of general attributes, for example, of confidence, and that's the ability to make decisions or decisions.
And is that true in all cultures?
That's a really good question. So, you know, and I would have to look into that more. We have, well, I lived in France, j'habitais longtemps en France, but we have Italian and French contingent here. Is decisiveness a quality in your culture that would reflect confidence?
So, one thing that I want to share is that so being a mathematician in Italy is not a big deal for a woman as it is in America. what I mean by that. I don't know if it's a big deal, but when I was teaching, one of the things I was working on was like to add more women in math. Like it was a student, a girl, she was excited. So, oh yeah, great, come to my office. Let's talk about it. I'm so excited all the time. So, but indeed it was not a big deal. Like 90% of people in my class in college back in Italy were women. 90%, because the guys go into engineering, so that's why. When I went to graduate school, I was surprised I was the only woman. I was like, what's going on here? Yeah, so that was different, and then and I'm still pondering and wondering why is that so, and then I've been reading papers about it, because at some point I got interested in math education, especially from the viewpoint of empowering women too, because I think I hear often women saying like, I'm not good at math because I was born that way, and I'm here today to say it's not true. It is absolutely not true. You're not born good or bad at math. You just have to study hard, or not even hard. It doesn't have to be hard. I mean, awfully it's fun, otherwise it's not going to be interesting. But like I hear often this, and it makes me sad. And I want to do something about it. In fact, that's one of the, eventually if I become more confident, I'm going to go out there and tell everybody that we all can do math. And not that everybody needs to do math, but it seems in the world we're getting into with technology and all that, coding is very important, and understanding some math also for like very basic things, not to get into that and all that, but that's a different story. So I'm really wondering why is that so, and I see American women are much stronger, I think, than Italian women in from the viewpoint of having jobs that in Italy women would not be doing because it's not acceptable in the society. Like the society said, no, you can't do that, and I see more women doing those jobs. So it's interesting that, like, why certain fields, and now that I'm entering the field of high tech, I'm getting a little bit discouraged actually, but I'm trying not to think so much about it. So I've been working like within myself hard, say, okay, don't think so much about it, that's okay. Just be yourself, don't worry, because there's nothing much you can do. But I noticed I went to a few interviews and I've experienced something interesting. Like, I don't know, like, would they be talking to me the same way if I were Christian, you know, like San Christina? Or, but then I try not to think so much about the fact if I'm a woman, therefore this is happening, because I won't solve any problem that way, right? I don't know if I think too much.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think it requires hard work. Yeah, being a woman, yes. Like this summer, I started. You asked, I've been like, so I'm going now. I actually had joined I worked, like I talked to several people until I found two startups to work for, and I was working for both of them at the same time. Then unfortunately I got sick, very serious disease, and then I had to do a couple of surgeries. Like my life was completely like crazy. And so then I stopped, and I'm like, and now I have kind of a gap in my CV. Now fortunately things went well, but like, what? Why? You know? Now I'm changing careers, and I like so much work, and then this is happening. That I decided, well, you know what? I'm gonna take lots of online courses. I'm gonna take them and finish them. Now I got addicted to take them. And I'm actually volunteering my time to that as well, like helping others and helping myself also enforcing the topics. But I really suck at being confident. You know, I really do. Like
I think you're being confident right now.
Well, thank you, but I think what you said actually, and the fact that maybe I think some of us have said like, oh, I'm not confident. Maybe what you said, like, oh, you don't look like to everybody. You all don't look that, you know, unconfident. I don't know if it's a word. So you know that really helped. But usually I'm shy. I don't tell what I want to say. Like in my husband, we were saying like my husband like as he's kind of my best friend, which is a good thing and not a good thing, because he's a guy. He's like, I'm thinking about this. How do I solve it? Like, okay, come on, you decided. That's quick. Don't think about it. Tonight he was like, I need to think about it. for a few days. So anyway, so I need to have a different, like my best friend lives in New York and she's traveling all the time and she's actually very confident. And I'm like, I see her and I say, wow, why can't I be like you? Maybe because she's tall. Trying to give like reasons, right, outside, but I definitely, like, it's within us, right?
It is, and my experience of you right now is really delightful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, and you're being yourself, and so I know that it's hard in tech, because I've been there. I mean, the ratio, I'm in Capital Factory meetings all the time, and startup companies, I'm aware of the female entrepreneurs. Like, I'm looking around, I'm like, it's always 1 to 50, 1 to 50, you know, and I don't understand it, really, you know, except that, we're not as willing, or we're not to put ourselves out there, or to, you know, again, take the big leaps and the big risks sometimes. But certainly it takes confidence to change career, you know. That's where the reframe becomes really important, and you look at the ways you are confident, and you look at the ways you have been successful, and the actions you are taking, so you constantly acknowledge yourself for the good stuff. It's really important. And your friend so confident, study what it is that you think that makes you, or that, why does she exude confidence? What is it about her?
Yes, well.
And you can just think about that, but there's one thing I wanted to ask you guys before we left, and this is another one that's worked for me, and also at other times. In this book, they warned against it. Fake it until you make it. There have been situations where I have been shaken in my boots. And I mean, I just ground down on my feet and like, okay, go, right? And I'm gonna pretend that I'm confident in this situation. And there have been many situations where that has held me in good stead until I could actually be confident. And, you know, they warn against it in this book, saying, you know, you fake it, it's obvious. But I think that that's when you're faking it and you're boasting and you're, you know, again, maybe have some of that behavior, but I know that what has worked for me in the past, I'll just pass this along if it helps you at all, is that imagine what it feels like to feel confident. Like, just in this moment, close your eyes briefly. Like, how, if you could imagine feeling confident, you could feel it right now. That feeling you can present any time. And suddenly you are confident. Like, you have the thing you want. If you can evoke the experience of what would it feel like to feel confident. And before going into a job interview, before going into that new, you know, customer meeting or what have you, before writing an email or asking a question or have you, and I have a good resource for you, another book for you. You know, you can evoke that state of confidence. It is a state. It's a little more frou-frou. This is harder to teach, but it's something that I do. I get my feet to the ground, I get in my body. I can tell my tone, my voice changes. You know, it's really, so somatically it's very important. But again, you really can access confidence in your mind and have the experience of it that you can take into your daily life.
I was going to say, I did a really interesting experiment when I was going in for job interviews. And I decided I'm not going to worry about what I don't know, and just know I'm going to be me, and I know what I know, and I'm really good at just figuring out what I don't know. So I just went in and represented myself that way. And it completely shifted, like, the whole interview went differently, and the way they related to me. And ever since I've done that, almost any job interview I go in for, they'll want to go forward, and then it's usually me turning it down. And it just from like, I am who I am, screw it. You know, if it's not good enough, I can only be what I can be. And, you know, if I don't know, I'll figure it out. And it changed a lot of things in job interviews doing that.
And what I don't know, I'll go figure out, is the part that's the most honest part. Meaning that they can trust that. If you're that kind of person, I went through an interview process where they wanted to know all mistakes, failures, and I thought, I don't know how I'm ever gonna get this job. They wanted to know who I was as a person and how I handled things. Because we're inevitably gonna make mistakes, we're inevitably gonna not know something, right? I like that a lot.
You know, when you mentioned the fake it till you make it, I think, at least for me, how I've seen that manifest itself is people who are being other than who they are. So
Right.
they are faking it.
They are.
And that doesn't make it, because after a while, you become more who you are, and people start to question, who are you? Because that's not who you represented yourself to be.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, I agree, you shouldn't fake it. You should just be who you are, because that's gonna come through eventually.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Like I went to this job interview and they asked me to write something, like they asked me some questions were not related at all to the job I was interviewing for. And I love writing on the board, in the whiteboard, and I was very excited about it. And then guy asked me this question, thought I would know this, you know, I memorized this thing in the past. And I was like, I know how to calculate this and I can get it and go there, but I don't remember this thing right now. I told him this way and they're like, no, you need to tell me, no, it was so weird. And I felt really bad after it. I was like, why they were this way? But I think what I should have done was like, you know what, I don't want to work there anyhow. In fact, I went home and I sent them an email and I said, I'm not even interested. No, I didn't say that, but I was like, I'm not interested in continuing with you guys because I had this bad experience. But anyway, like, I don't know, like, why this person kept insisting, so I don't know how you stop that.
So we definitely, we'll go ahead and close tonight, and I wanted to tell you, we've got a very exciting guest speaker for next time. Laura Brady, who's president of Concierge Auctions, which is a high-end auction real estate company. They've been listed on the fastest growing Inc. 500's list 2 years in a row. They're having phenomenal success, and I've invited her to come speak to the group. She's a dynamic speaker. She's going to talk about, and she's a hardened startup entrepreneur and female executive who's, really started, in one room in her house, and now, 63-person company, it's just skyrocketing. And anyway, so she's gonna come speak with us on the 30th. So I'll promote that soon, we can abstract out, but it's gonna be really worth coming to her talk. I'm so inspired and impressed by her. She's done a lot in her career, and I think she'll bring a lot to the group. Okay. Thank y'all very much.
Is that gonna be next month?
It's gonna be on the 30th of this month, and then I'll announce the April dates. But check in every month because we'll have different speakers and different topics. Any of you who want to participate or want to speak, if you'd be interested in speaking, or any of you, if you want to come share at the meetup, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. I'm sorry I didn't get your name in the back, but you added so much value. I was like, well, you should be up here sharing.
Oh, Keyshawn Yang.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Susanna, what's the other book? Or
Okay.
would you recommend me in? I haven't read that.
And then this one, I definitely recommend it. There's a book called Leadership Phase. Give me your information. That's a very long. It's like every situation.
Sure, better, sure.
What is too, sorry, both ways, but that's just, but again, our hands
It's fun. Oh, phrase, but, yeah.
just trying to figure it out. you know, the right balance.
Leadership phrases, like leadership phrases.
If you give me your email address,
I'll just leave you, it's, yeah, just give me an email address and I'll send it to you. It's really silly,
mud,
every situation.
and I
gives
think
you
it's
the
based
most
on
professional
that,
way to
just
like,
because like
you
when
know,
I
it gives you the whole
and it's
scale
more-
of ways to respond to the
I've had
situation.
more issues with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from good to bad, or like difficult, different. Really? Okay, yeah, so let me give you my card, maybe you can email me these other words.
Yeah, we treat ourselves right, I mean.
It's like, I always sit there when I'm typing an email and I'm like, how do I say this? How do I say it right? How do I convey this, professional, like,
I mean, you know,
blah,
I mean, and I don't
It's
like to
definitely.
take myself as a person, I don't like go out of my way to, put it down, but at the same time, it kind of needs to be done a certain way. And, so it's really hard to strike that balance, you don't want animosity with the people you're working with, when you're, expecting them to be better. Yeah.
Alors, j'ai habité en France pendant 10 ans.
Like, if, you know, if I had to tell them what to do, I don't know. I need to put on my demanding or right, and that's what's hard for me. I like my because it's an internal struggle too. Because I have changed certain things, like from my first job. You know what I mean, in terms of what I say about it, I'm trying not to apologize. All day. So there's like something else that I'm working on, but at the same time, I'm still, it's a work in progress, right? Yeah, there's definitely, and I've talked to, you know, I've never, I don't know, just met, like, there's just met, they go because I think we definitely have it hard, and then it just causes ourselves to exude that confidence. And it's, yeah, and it's about, because to me, I'm the same way, you know, kind of just have that level of confidence. Because I'm very confident in what I'm doing, but I can always be better, or there's always more to learn. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm still gonna be working towards that, but I just, I can be technically you know, that's what so, like my Susan was saying, that's why I take to like, I don't have to reach perfection to be like, so that's struggle, you know. I mean, that's where I need to improve that, and I know that's why I really want to continue to try it's internal. It's really right. It's not clinical, and that's why I come with someone and how I would handle it. So, is it always here? Like when I've had issues with, say, somebody doing something in a certain way, I've kind of like taken them to the side and just try to have a discussion about what's going on. And the way I thought. I wish you could see that's why we usually shoot. Because I feel like I've tried to do the right thing in my head. Yeah, well, I see you and I was like, you know, I like very nicely told me, you know, what was wrong and what could be just made better. But that's not always received.
I'm in
So that's hard, because then how, because if you don't communicate, then you just put up with that. And you know what I mean, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
picture making their issue instead of saying, this is an issue.
But I have to work with that person, like I have to,
You said you were entrepreneurial, right, the technical side.
right,
But if you take on
Possibly, or into
the
I
agency
am on the technical
I-
side, so.
right, but, so like, for example, in the situation with the assistant, we work together. We're a team, so if there's something that we need, I don't get that, then it affects us and our work together. And so I don't think that it is work or your work and my work. It's like we work together, so that, you know what I mean?
I do, but you're not responsible for how they
Data.
Oh, okay, so you're saying what,
something to be done.
right, so I communicated and that's it, is that what you're saying?
I'm
Or
saying,
you're saying,
no, I'm saying you communicate it, and how they receive it, take it is their responsibility. You're not.
and so I don't have to worry about that.
It's not about how they receive it.
Right.
Right now, I'm
Right.
But your responsibility, you give them into having
Thank you so much. Yes, hope there's something going on. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're responsible.
That have the same, right, so that's, I think, I need to work on that, and just something that people have to, you know, do your thing, and then, like what you just said, but just not have it in your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that's what, like, and,
Like,
yeah, so you can't be worried about how they took it, or as long as you know that you did it, or you feel good about what you did.
There's actually,
and also recurring.
and I did a lot of this when I was,
It's actually, there's an entrepreneurial type of speaker.
listening and picked up that half price.
Okay.
Listen to what they said, they want to like, but it's something they want to just
Well,
follow
the,
And those two oftentimes, like,
a curious
don't
mind
really go hand in hand.
by Brian Grazer.
Once you're psychology means people to look up to. So the best way of trying to be liked
Yeah.
is trying for themselves.
Right, right.
So
And they're all really different.
is the director.
Your
Brian
mouth person
Grazer
is
is always the teacher.
So
Okay.
So Grazer goes out and gets the money.
Right,
Grazer
right.
did it.
Right.
And he wrote this book, and the movie that they did together, A Curious Mind, with Russell Crowe. He is, I don't know if he, maybe I haven't gotten to that part. Movie got the title, Ford movie, Ford based the book on.
I went to the last one.
The whole point of the book is about curiosity and approaching things from a curious perspective. You either get to serve or less. He talks about the fact that he has these curiosity conversations and talks to people.
That's really cool.
Because he likes to learn
Right.
things.
And there's transportation.
That when we approach something, asking
Changing the beliefs.
then people, first and foremost, don't feel like they have to be on the defensive because it's a conversation.
Sure.
And then you start to get information that allows you to guide them. So
Cemetery.
You in your
I
head
know boss I work for was phenomenal.
You said you
She would always ask
Well, I currently work for a mobile tickets company, but
and
we
stop
have
them
three of
when
us
they're
that
sad or
are working
nervous
on the side
or
together.
defensive
We're trying to
or
figure out how to.
yelling, and just they would just stop
It's like
and
fighting.
take the conversation.
So we're not
So he says that he is
thing,
working
you know,
with single
I
entity.
wasn't invited, whatever, but
There's a guy that does engineering, data science.
He doesn't start
and
as
then
an
he started a
engineer.
blog and
it's
he
no longer about,
So
oh,
tell
I wish,
me about
I wish I was
why
invited,
you
or I was invited,
or
I don't even
what
know.
makes you would want to
So
take.
don't go,
Right.
right?
You know,
And
he
instead,
said he was on a movie, he was doing a movie with Tom
FOMO
Hanks,
versus
and
now.
the studio said, you're
been really fun.
So the worst thing you can do is be the executive on a plane going to
I don't
because
know
everybody's
how
now
that goes.
saying, oh, he's gonna stop catering, he's gonna stop this, he's gonna stop that. He said, well, when I got there, I got to the other side, and said, you know, we're running over budget.
And you have
What could you do
science
as a leader on this film
Okay.
Control what's going on.
I need to talk to you. How?
Right up and say,
Like,
you know what,
I
I'm gonna
don't
be
stand
the leader.
on